Hi, everyone. How are you enjoying Cannes so far? It's great, right? So let's hope the sun stays. I'm Aurelia Noel. I'm head of transformation and innovation at dentsu. And today it is my honor to welcome on stage Jen Wong and Lisa Mack. So, Jen, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for Reddit?
Sure. Jen Wong. I've been with Reddit 6 years. I lead our business growth, which today is mainly an advertising business. And this is, I won't say the number of cans I've been to, but it's a lot.
Lisa?
And I'm Lisa. I lead brand for Telus. Telus is a telecommunications company in Canada. Many of you might not be familiar with us. We can maybe get into a little bit about our brand story. I've been at Telus for 10 years and really excited to be here for this conversation about community.
So we're really looking forward to this panel. At dentsu, we're all about how we intersect data, tech, media, creativity, consumer, connectivity, community. And I think it's very good to have both of you here with us today. And I want maybe to start with Jen around kind of the power of Reddit as a platform. How does it bring community together? What's the power of community if you were to put it in a few sentences?
Yeah, for those of you who may not be as familiar with Reddit, I mean, we're like the world's largest online community of communities. We have over 100,000 communities. And Reddit feels it's very vast in that, we have 80 million visitors a day, 300 million weekly. Probably most people who speak English bounce off of Reddit a couple times a year, frankly. But it feels small in that when you're in the community for gardening or pizza or whatever it is that you care about, it feels like a place where you're spending time with people who share the same interest as you. And so it can feel very small and cozy too, even though Reddit overall is very vast. And one of our principles is that we build everything with community in mind. So community first, because everything that is amazing about Reddit, all the conversation, the authenticity, the information that people can receive, the feeling of belonging that you get in these communities comes from our communities. They build everything amazing on Reddit. And so that's one of our principles is community first and empowering users and people. As much of a tech company as we are, we believe in human intelligence. We believe in the human. We believe in empowering humans because humans usually do the most amazing things when you give them the ability to do that.
Thank you. And I think a question for both of you, but as you said, Reddit is so vast. You can be lost in Reddit if you spend a few hours on it. But how do you maintain authenticity? And what I would love to understand is, from a platform perspective, how do you really keep that authenticity? And then, Lisa, from a brand perspective, how does an authentic brand show up in Reddit?
So Reddit is really different than peer platforms. First of all, it's anonymous, and that gives you an ability to traverse between communities and share and reveal interests that you don't have in other spaces where you're under PII. For example, Reddit knows that I'm an avid gardener, knows I was shopping for a car, knows I really like to make pizza, knows I'm a parent. Other platforms, when I'm under PI, they don't know those things about me because my friends and family don't share my gardening interest. They certainly don't care that I'm in the market for buying a 3-row car with my 2 little kids and aging parents. So Reddit is very different. So it's like you reveal your authentic self, new dimensions of yourself. The other piece of it is because Reddit operates in communities, each of these communities have a sense of culture and norms. They all have rules that are enforced by human moderators who are experts in that topic. So r/science and r/ is just used interchangeably with subreddit or community are millions of people with thousands of moderators who are scientists. They are PhDs, they're entomologists, physicists who are helping people enjoy recent research and keeping it on topic because people who come to that community really only want to talk about research, not other things. And that keeps the communities, I think, relevant and authentic. The final thing I'll say is, at Reddit, when we build our product, we don't optimize our feed and ML for engagement and scrolling. Like what matters on Reddit is that people spend time in a post, in the conversation, reading the comments from other users. And so we tune to that. We call that a good visit. It's a healthy visit because you're going deep, not because you're staying on the surface and scrolling. And that creates a very different product, a very different mindset, and I think enables us to grow in a very healthy way.
Oh, amazing. And what about you, Lisa?
So I'm going to take a little bit of a tangential turn, but I'm going to bring it back around to some of the things that you were talking about because I find it really fascinating and I think there's some really interesting alignment. So let me tell you a little bit about Telus. Telus is a Canadian telecommunications company. We make customer connections with 19 million customers in Canada across voice, IP, TV, entertainment, security, so everything that you would expect from a telecommunications company. But the thing that makes our company different and where I think it gets really interesting is two things. Number one, we really believe in the power of using our core business and our core technology to change the world for a better place. And that's why our growth areas take us into places like transforming digital healthcare, helping make health accessible for all communities around the world. We also are investing in agri-technology, so helping to solve the world's growing food shortage challenge by using the power of our technology to be able to trace, by way of example, seed to farm to fork. And all of that is based on the power of our world-leading network technology. So that's point number one. And point number two that I think is really well connected, we're doing that because we believe in the power of community to drive remarkable human outcomes. So when you take that and translate it from a brand positioning and a brand value prop and a differentiator in the telecommunications market, we very strongly believe in the power of community. And so we have a track record, 20 plus years. You talked about authenticity. Yes. This is something that we've been a purpose-driven, social capitalism-driven organization for more than 20 years because we use our core business to drive remarkable human outcomes. And so from a philanthropic perspective, we've actually given $1.7 billion. But we do that through our communities. We do it through our team members. We give with our hearts and our hands where we live, work, and serve. But I say that very genuinely. We had 2.2 million hours of global volunteerism through our team members. 2.2 million hours. We have 19 community boards around the globe. And when I talk about community boards, and I tie that back to our philanthropy and our giving, we actually put the power of our giving in the hands of the leaders of local communities. Because nobody knows what a community needs better than the leaders that are active in those communities. And so that's why I sort of bring it back to authenticity and connection. We, much like what you're doing in terms of building communities and authenticity, I loved your point on PII. This is what Telus is doing to authentically connect and use our technology to drive better outcomes in all of our communities.
And that is really, really impressive. And I think it comes to, again, my second point was really about the power of consumer and community feedback. And how you're doing it really well through leveraging your communities, leveraging brands for good. Reddit does it really well. Again, you said no PI data, so I can definitely be myself, and I can really kind of vest those interests. I loved what you said about your ML is not trained on engagement, but really on nearly attention and time spent with brands and with threads on Reddit. What I think you gave me a little bit of an anecdote, but I will let you talk about it. But tell me about how you are actually empowering even your own people to bring that consumer feedback to life.
Yeah, okay, so two things on this one that might be interesting. Number one, we use research and insights to help us better understand what is meaningful to our target audiences across all of our advertising and communications. Because when I look at the power of what Telus is doing from a community and an investment perspective, what matters most to you, sustainability, might be very different than what matters to you in terms of access to healthcare, by way of example. And so we use those data and insights to inform our communications and advertising strategies, and of course our targeting strategies. But when I think about connecting that to community, we have a highly engaged team member base. around the world. In fact, we have world-leading team member engagement, and part of that is because of the values alignment that we strive to achieve. But when we use the power of the voice of our team members around the world to advocate on behalf of what Telus is doing as an organization, not necessarily exclusively from a product and service perspective, but from a community and giving perspective, it really helps us amplify our reach and make those meaningful connections. And so we have a program internally where we recognize our best social media influencers from an advocacy perspective. And one of the winners of the award last year actually took it upon himself as a network technician to start a Reddit subthread, to be able to get active in the community with folks that are particularly interested in solving the challenges that they're having in that very particular space. So again, if we didn't understand what communities are passionate about and caring about, if we didn't engage our team members to help us get active in their communities, we wouldn't be able to give such a powerful example on a platform like Reddit is doing to offer that kind of human connection.
I love that example because I think Reddit operates at sort of all parts of the consumer decision journey. We have incredible unduplicated reach and marketing and big, rich formats that allow people to go very deep in terms of their intent because people spend so much time doing research on Reddit in the consideration phase. But then there's also in the communities the experience of people expressing what their experience is with your product, like their real IRL experience with your product where there's an opportunity to meet them there. And operating at both levels is, I think, really important and valuable for creating trust and a dialogue with your customers or potential customers. And that's very unique to Reddit that you can operate across all of those levels.
And any brand that comes to mind that is doing it really well outside of Telus?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just share a fun one. Recently, we launched these free-form ads, and I think this is a great example of engaging communities with like Kraft Heinz and Philly cream cheese. Like, we have this long ad where you can have content and you can ask a question around like what's your most interesting use of Philly cream cheese, and people chime in like all kinds of crazy ideas, and it's using the community to actually make your creative and inspire other people for different things that you probably couldn't sit down and rattle off all those ideas, but you can crowdsource them from the community and be inspired by all of those ideas. And that just gives you a sense of, that's a great way to reflect the community back to itself and show appreciation for the creativity of the community just in your ad creative. And I think that's something we see, some of the best practice that we see.
Another thing that I think is a little bit interesting with what you're saying, and Philly, I'm going to have to go deep and read up on that because I bet there's some great stuff in there. Like what I think is really fascinating about the opportunity for our brand, we have such a different story when you think about a telco, and I think we have such an opportunity to really match passions and interests with what people are talking about and saying on Reddit, and that allows us to share that message of differentiation so that when it comes time to have a product conversation and a purchase conversation, we've really had the opportunity to make that meaningful, authentic relationship based on shared interest and shared values.
You have that same foundation.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting thing because it goes hand in hand with how search has really changed over time. Before it was really like, here is a keyword, give me whatever you want. And it has changed, not only the platform has changed, the way to search has changed. And I think there's a lot more creativity in search at the moment than there ever was before. So having one of the biggest kind of, in a way, search platform through Reddit, because people are coming to Reddit, as you said, for their interest. And then Lisa, being able to talk to your consumer in a very different, creative way and having their attention for longer. So how does the search advancement or the way that search has been transforming has changed the way you see Reddit as a platform and the way you use search as a brand?
We are at the very beginning of, I think, an arc that might unfold over, frankly, the next 5 to 10 years that I think will have a significant impact on how we all use the internet. Mm-hmm. And search is such an important and big gateway. From a Reddit perspective, I think there are many paths leading users and businesses to Reddit right now, which is fueling our growth. Um, Things like the fact that, while in some ecosystems there are influencers and paid influencers, and that's one way that people get inspired around products. The other complement to that is that sometimes people just want the real, authentic, non-influencer opinion to complement that when they're making a decision. And Reddit is a place where you can get that because when somebody's in a makeup community on Reddit, they're not a paid influencer. They're just there as a person who has actually used the product, who's trying to help you. The second thing is in a world of AI, human intelligence, the value of it just increases in value. And Reddit is a 19-year corpus of human intelligence that refreshes every minute. Every time there's a new product, every time there's a new vernacular, it shows up on Reddit. And so as there's more auto-generated content, somebody still has to provide the original human inspiration, and that's Reddit. And you see why we're so prevalent in terms of search. The other piece is that I think we've all felt it. The speed of culture is incredibly fast, and things go viral and then they disappear. And if you in certain spaces where you have a feed, they disappear forever. You can never find them again because that's how the system works. Reddit is the total opposite of that. Everything on Reddit is public. It is open on the internet. You can access it forever. It endures. The conversation endures. The knowledge endures. You have full context. You can add to it. You can learn from it forever. And so there's this content dividend on Reddit that doesn't exist in other spaces. And the final thing I'll say is I think while many people do benefit from learning from Reddit and the information that they get from search on Reddit, most people that come to Reddit and, every day, they're there for the community and belonging. They're there for the feeling of, people like me who are obsessing over their vegetables in New York right now in the heat wave to make sure they don't melt and remotely watering them, and getting advice on how to not let them die. Like, it's all people like that nerding out on something very specific. And those are my people. And that is very, very special to me. So I think search is going to transform. You see this. Search has so many pieces to the query now. It used to be 2 words. Now we're up to 7 to 10 words. People are hunting for information. And Reddit's corpus is one of the few places where you can go that deep to say, what's the right vacuum? Does it scrub pet hair? Is it going to work in this environment? I mean, so deep in the decision journey. And I think that's going to be very transformative for where search goes over the next 5 to 10 years in terms of format, may or may not be text, frankly, and also what the experience is when it comes back.
Great.
Well, and I also think, just building on what you established and what you're saying, the way people are going to search as we see the generation, Gen A, start to step in, truly digital native from the core, the way they're searching, their approach to natural language search is going to evolve. And I think it's incredibly important as a brand and as a marketer that we can't just stay with people in their changing behaviors in the search space. We have to stay ahead of it and make sure that we're understanding where they're going to go as they get there, so that we can intercept and make those appropriate connections as the platform and that landscape evolves. Yeah. And certainly that's what we strive to do as marketers at Telus, for sure, is sort of do that step ahead. But search and I mean, it's just such a window into the mindset of our consumers. What are they thinking about? What are they caring about? What are they worried about? What are they going deep on? What are they not going deep on? And so all of that data that comes from it allows us to meet consumers, get ahead of consumers, and share with them what's relevant and influential.
Thank you. And I think it's really important because you talked about human intelligence and search nearly like moving away from that heavy tech-driven algorithm to being a lot more human. And I think when it comes to human intelligence, you are leveraging all of it. So can you tell us a little bit more about how Telus is really kind of leveraging that human intelligence to create a different type of telecommunication company?
Yeah, well, I think it's a little bit of a theme or a buzz right now, but human in the loop is so core to what we need to do as a technology company. I mean, we would consider ourselves to be a global technology company, and we're using the power of AI to transform how other organizations are able to connect with their customers and consumers and manage those relationships as part of one of our growth businesses. But I think, at the end of the day, when you want to connect with the consumer, you have to make that connection from an emotional point first. And so technology and search and data can help us figure out the right way to bridge those connections, but it's still the human element, the human creativity that allows you to find that spark and put that right piece of communication and use the power of the brand to be able to establish that emotional connection. I think increasingly without that emotional connection, without that human connection, I think consumers are going to be seeking more and more of that, whether they know it or not. I think it's critically important to establish that in order to be able to then ultimately pull them down and convert them.
Great. Then the thing is also, and Jen, you touched on that, is technology is evolving so quickly. And I think, I've been a marketer for 25 years, and I have never seen such advancement so quickly. I think it's a question of both of you, but how do you stay ahead?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess my personality is that I really love new things. And I've typically worked in consumer businesses because I love when there's disruptive changes to consumer behavior. I'm going to be the first one to try a new app. I'm going to be the first one to test anything out and just to see, like, is this going to take hold? What is this about? What is it about this new behavior that is resonating with people? And I do think that pace has increased, but I still think it's fun. And I think even though we are a company that believes in the power of humans, it does not mean we don't believe in technology. AI is going to be a profound technology, and it is going to allow humans to do superhuman things. For example, Reddit is 19 years old. We are born of the US and an English background with a large English corpus. And we've had friction between users who maybe only speak French and English speakers to have a global conversation, maybe about parenting, maybe about life questions. That can all go away because machine translation is going to be so powerful and so good that you can take the friction out of conversations. Things like that, I think, are really magical to come. And I think they will change, the topography of how people use the internet. I think that's true for our moderators. A lot of people are trying to make posts, but there's a lot of rules, and that's hard. And putting tools in the hands of our moderators to allow them to do moderation at scale is going to be really, really important as well. And we're in the process of doing that. AI for creative, no doubt. So we've already launched a headline generator. So these kinds of things just augment underlying human capabilities and ideas. There are places where it might replace it, but for the most part, we think of it as how do we make our product experience better? How do we take the friction out of what people naturally want to do? And how do we give superhuman capabilities to the humans who are doing a lot of last mile nuanced work? In the end, the reason why we believe the power of humans is because of the creativity component and because of the nuance. When you're moderating in a community, you have to know the topic, right? I know that someone who knows about gardening is moderating that community. If you're not an avid gardener, you're probably wondering, like, what are these people talking about in some cases, right? So it's really important, that kind of nuance. We never want to lose nuance. That's how people find and feel like there's a home, that culture, that vibe of these are my people. That's how you feel like that the world is not this, vast generic place, but you're in a community of people who are like-minded.
I think from a technology advancement perspective, it's incumbent upon us to shape how we're developing technology and what we're doing with that technology. So some of the things that Telus is doing in that space as a technology company is investing in, again, things that drive important societal outcomes. So Telus started up a pollinator fund, a venture capital fund that is focused specifically on investing in early stage startups that are focused on social ventures. So by way of example, I'll share a couple of examples because I think they're really important in terms of using technology and investing with your organization to build a better society for tomorrow through technology. So one of the companies that we've recently invested in is called Mycocycle, and what they've actually developed is mushrooms that are able to consume toxic waste and turn it into organic material. So construction off-put garbage, they're able to transform it. We've invested in a company called Flash Forest, which when forest fires have ravaged the forests and it's not yet safe for human tree planters, we've enabled drone technology to go in and actually shoot essentially bullets of seeds into the ground to assist in reforestation at a faster scale. We've also invested in a company called Dryad, which is sensor, like IoT-based sensor technology that you can place throughout forests that are likely to be impacted by wildfires. And those sensors will send the data back to be able to help predict where the wildfire might go so that relief efforts can be sent faster and earlier and help prevent the spread. So these are just 3 examples of things that we're doing to make sure that we're using the advancements in technology and we're channeling those advancements in technology to be able to do things that will allow our communities and our future generations to continue to thrive.
That is so amazing. I wasn't prepared for that. So I think what it's a big scary world out there, and I think it's often the first step is often the worst one to take. You've taken both a lot of first steps. What would be your recommendation or your advice for a brand that wants to start in community purpose-led storytelling, and to kind of start using your platform as a way to tell a better story?
Yeah, I would say always start with listening. So on Reddit, the way to think about how to show up is always to use a human real life analogy. So if you're going to show up at a dinner party, i.e., somebody's community or event, how would you show up? You probably would listen before speaking a lot. You probably wouldn't be too pushy. You probably wouldn't be collecting phone numbers on the minute that you're walking in. You probably would learn what people care about and engage with them on the things that they care about before saying, you know what, here's what I'm about, and here's what I can bring to the table. So those basic kind of human actions, just translate those onto your brand's behavior on Reddit. That's how I would say it, most simply. And that often starts with listening and understanding the culture, finding your people, understanding what they care about, and then starting to engage and helping, like adding value, asking questions, being on an equal footing, treating somebody as a respected equal, those kind of things.
I think from our perspective, it's about if you want to have a brand purpose, I think it has to be authentic to who your organization is and what your brand stands for. So understanding that first and foremost, I think is table stakes, and that's what allows you to enter into that space. And then I think what's really important is that you start to use the stories behind your purpose. I shared a few of them with you already. Use the stories behind your purpose to set you apart from the competitors in your space, whatever that might be. And make it meaningful and purposeful in your marketing and in your communications. So you could bolt on a brand purpose message to try to influence a product purchase. I don't believe that that's going to happen. I think it has to happen naturally and authentically. We've done a lot of testing and learning in this space over the last couple of years. And so, we have sequenced media plans where you talk to a person first about our purpose, and then you talk to them about a product, and then you integrate those messages. And we've seen that translate into our business results. So people who understand our purpose are 4 times more likely to trust us. They're 4 times more likely to drive purchase intent. They're 1.5 times more likely to stick with us, which we really, really like. And they're 4 times more likely to recommend us as a brand. And that all stitches back to understanding what our purpose is. And so it's the authentic connection. It's connecting it into your communications. And the other thing that I would say is, just by way of example, when you think about that customer journey of understanding your purpose and using it as an influencer, when we're able to get a potential customer to our website that talks about the amazing things that we're doing in our communities and in our world, they're actually 2 times more likely to complete a digital transaction within a 14-day window. So we can immediately connect that back to that values alignment and that connection. So brands looking to do the same, I think it comes down to authenticity. I think it comes down to it being built into your value proposition and being built into your communications to truly influence your communities.
Yes, I love that because I'm really about storytelling, and we know that brand building is your number one kind of assets when it comes to return on ad spend. I think we did a study a few years ago where it says it gives you 18 times the ROI if you have a strong brand. And I think telling story in a different way is what is happening. And I'd love to see your views on where storytelling is going and what is true for storytelling now.
I don't know.
I think storytelling is about connection. I think it's truly about connection, and I think that actually starts at a community understanding, and you build that up so that you can make that meaningful connection. I think storytelling is grounded in insight, and I don't think we'll have the right insights into consumer expectations and behavior and demands and fears and needs if we don't understand the data. And we're going to get that data from a depth of relationship within the community. And then I think, again, to reuse the term human in the loop, I think it's that human intelligence and that human understanding of human behavior that will allow us to elevate the storytelling to be able to break through and be meaningful and impactful.
Yeah. I'd say two other things. I agree with that. Um, One is that when you're engaging and thinking about crafting a narrative, it's really important to, I think, know your audience very well and be willing to speak in the vernacular that they speak in. It really matters, I think, because it shows, okay, I understand who you are culturally and I'm meeting you. I'm meeting your culture. I think that's really important. We talk about that a lot on Reddit, just creatively. It's like Reddit has a certain parlance. It's a little cheeky. It uses a lot of acronyms, a lot of web speak. We help with that, but that makes you an insider in terms of being a part of the community. The second is even if you have something that you want to say, sometimes being open to asking a question and getting feedback the other way or having a two-way dialogue is incredibly valuable. I find that sometimes brands, they want to go up to that edge but maybe not do that because they're maybe concerned about what they're going to get back. But what I would say is people are talking about your brand and your products out there in the world. And meeting people and even being willing to have a two-way conversation with them to engage them about their experience with your product increases their respect for you so much. And we see this over and over again. When brands engage on Reddit and in communities, our communities and our users, their respect for that brand increases because it's a space where people are expected to show up, and brands and entities, in a very authentic way, in a way that where you're equals, where both ideas matter. And if you can do that, I think you really win a lot of respect in hearts and minds. You get permission to say even more.
And I think brands that are authentic brands actually need to take an active role and take responsibility for driving that two-way interaction.
Yeah.
Using the example of our network administrator that runs the sub-thread, it's taking responsibility for what we're doing as an organization and driving positive connections with our customer base.
Wow, that's absolutely fascinating. If we think about like the next 18 months in marketing, what are you most looking forward to, both of you?
Looking forward to. I mean, for us at Reddit, we've been building our business and building our advertising platform. I think we deliver great solutions at the top and the mid funnel. We've really been working on converting that high intent at the bottom of the funnel so that we really have a full funnel solution. I'm really excited about that. I mean, that is like the pieces and components of that are coming online as we speak. And I think that fulfills the promise of the original vision that we had for Reddit, to be able to convert that high intent at all levels, for our partners. I think the second thing is we are going through, like, I think a pretty significant evolution. One, I think we're mainstreaming. Like Reddit was sort of, I think, even though we're 19 years old, was maybe a little different. Like we're structurally different, maybe a little misunderstood, windy past, lots of things. And I think we're becoming mainstream now. Part of it is like the breadth of the topics that are now covered on Reddit. Part of it is like I can see just the demographics have become very, very wide on Reddit, which is awesome. And I think that's really good. Reddit's still, again, it's vast, it's big, but it's still small in terms of the communities. So that diversity, I think, is really exciting to see. And I think that just creates more opportunities for us to like partner with businesses across all of these different communities and just increases like the vibrancy of Reddit. The final thing I'll say is like we have a big vision. Our communities today are places of altruistic conversation where people are talking to each other about things they care about. But we have a dream that our communities will go beyond conversation to have interaction with each other, to build apps and exchanges, to build businesses between them, to be able to, if you love watches, to be able to trade watches, to be able to sell each other watches. If you are really good at Photoshop, or to be able to actually help each other and get the photo that you need, the creative that you need. All of that is happening on Reddit today through very informal mechanisms. And our dream is we're working on this now, is to structure those so that people can go beyond conversation and help each other with things that are IRL or things that go beyond conversation.
I think from the perspective of Telus, being a Canadian telco, we now operate in over 160 countries around the world with our health and agriculture and digital transformation businesses. And our brand promise globally is to make the future friendly. And in fact, our brand promise is let's make the future friendly, intentionally worded to act as an invitation for people around the world to join us in doing good in the world. And so when I think about the next 18 months, really my goal is to make sure that in 160 plus countries around the world, that Telus has made it unmissable to do business with us without understanding the good that we do and the good that we do in our communities as a truly globalized brand who's committed to social enterprise and driving remarkable human outcomes. So I'm going to do that in 18 months.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. I think you can agree they were wonderful panelists. So thank you so much for all this.
Thank you.
As a treat, we've got our next kind of Reddit drop. And today it's about the fragrance that is the most talked about on Reddit. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Jen. Very wonderful panel. A round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.